out for a 10-mile run this afternoon and just crossed 1,000 miles in my current pair of running shoes. If you Google how long do running shoes last, the same number keeps popping up. Experts recommend that you replace your running shoes every 300 to 500 miles. But can we trust these websites? Is there research that backs up their claims that maybe suggests that if we replace our shoes every 300 to 500 miles, we will be better runners and be faster, or maybe we'll be less prone to injuries? And another question is there even research that supports us buying these fancy and expensive shoes with the maximum cushioning and spring in the first place? These are some of the questions that I'm going to try to find the answers to and elaborate on a little bit in this video. As a quick reminder, I am currently training for the Cleveland Marathon, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my marathon prep series, in which I'll be posting a video every week that goes over a different aspect of my training and preparation. Now, I'm certainly no expert in biomechanics or running shoe technology, but I have worn 2 different pairs of shoes for around 1,000 miles each in running miles, and I've had little to no injuries during that time. Some of my ideas from the subject also come from Christopher McDougall's book, Born to Run, which explores some of the secrets and unknowns of the Tarahumara tribe of Mexico. Let's start off with maybe the more controversial topic, which is in regards to barefoot running and minimalist shoes in running, and then we'll get to replacing your shoes later on. So the general idea behind most running shoes is that they are shaped in a way that kind of forces your foot to make the optimal gait and step when it strikes the ground. And they also have lots of cushioning and spring to keep your foot, quote unquote, protected, and use that cushion to cause less of a force to be put on your foot, which in theory is supposed to provide injury prevention and protection. Now, in terms of the optimal way for your foot to strike the ground, there's not even a consensus on what that optimal way is. In a lot of cases, it seems like different things just work differently for different people. And it also seems that most people seem to have a pretty natural running gait that works for them, so they don't necessarily need a shoe to correct their form or gait in any specific way. And when it comes to cushioning, there is mixed research on that as well. There's not a ton of evidence that suggests that additional cushioning actually reduces the impact forces on your foot or reduces the risk of injury at all. The idea behind barefoot and minimalist running is that with less cushioning and a wider shoe, or sometimes just sort of a sandal, this gives your toes more room so that when you run, your toes will kind of splay out and flex and grip the ground as you step and strike the ground, and that all combines together to just make the impact more gradual and less of a big spike in force at once that is going to cause you pain or injury or just aching over time. Also, your foot has an arch in the middle, and that is for a reason, because an arch is a very strong shape, and when you are wearing a shoe that has that arch built into it and that fits your foot very closely, then that's sort of weakening the arch of your foot, and your actual foot isn't getting stronger like it should be. And if your foot isn't getting stronger over time, then when something in your shoe is different, maybe it's starting to wear down and you're not getting as much support, then in that case you'd be more prone to injury maybe than if you didn't have such good support and your arch itself built up its strength over time. So am I advocating that we just toss all our shoes away and go straight into barefoot running with 60 miles a week or whatever our normal training is? No, I'm definitely not. Shoes certainly have utility in my opinion. I think they're very useful, especially for protecting your feet from sharp objects and rough surfaces and very hard surfaces. I think they definitely have utility there. I think it could be useful, however, to try to get shoes that are less cushiony and springy and fancy, quote unquote. And also, if you wanted to, you could do some training on grass or sand barefoot, because most likely those surfaces aren't going to be too rough on your feet, and it'll just give you some exposure to something that's going to force your foot to get stronger over time. And you'd also want to start with a lower dosage of something like that and slowly build that up over time if you're interested in doing so. Let's move on now to the topic of when to replace your running shoes. If we agree at this point that more of a minimalist style of running shoe with less cushioning could be better, or certainly not worse than the alternative, then going long past the 300 to 500 mile threshold recommendation is probably not that big of an issue. Replacing running shoes in the first place is deemed necessary because the support and cushioning of the shoe wears out, and that will make us more susceptible to injury and discomfort, under the assumption that the support and cushioning are actually helping to begin with and preventing injury and discomfort to begin with. But if we don't, believe that assumption, then as the cushion wears out, your shoe could be actually getting better because there's less cushioning getting in your way, and you're able to train your foot to get stronger over time. So in terms of my shoes, I had a pair of running shoes that I ran on throughout most of 2023, and I didn't track it exactly, but I think those had in the ballpark of 800 to 900 miles on them before I switched to my current pair of shoes. And I still do wear those shoes occasionally, just not for any running for the most part, just for chores or work outside or anything like that where I don't want to get another of my shoes dirty. And my current pair of shoes that I have are the Adidas Run Falcon, which I think were only like $50. They're pretty basic and lightweight, and I just crossed the 1,000 mile mark with them. They did get a tear on the side between 800 to 900 miles, so they do need replacing. But aside from that, I think they've been great the whole time. I don't really have any issues or pain or injury because of them, I think. And like I said, despite that tear on the side, I did keep using them just because I kind of wanted to get to the 1,000 mile mark just to say I did, but also that tear wasn't really bothering me at all. I think a few times it probably got my feet a little more wet than if it wasn't there, but aside from that, it really wasn't that big of a deal. And I did get a new pair of shoes for Christmas, which are the Brooks Ghost, so that's what I'll be transitioning to over the next few weeks and months as I transition away from my current Adidas shoes. The Brooks Ghost are a super popular shoe, and they're definitely more cushiony than I would probably like, but I got them for Christmas, so I'm going to use them, and I think they're going to work well for me for sure. And I plan to incorporate some barefoot running on grass or sand in small amounts, and maybe increase that over time just to strengthen my feet. I've worn the Ghost shoes a few times, and like I said, I do like them so far, but I've found when starting out with new pairs of shoes, it works best for me to just gradually build out the mileage with them over time. So do some of the runs with the new pair of shoes and some of them with the old pair of shoes, so that my feet can just get used to them, rather than just switching over immediately one day. So let me know your thoughts on the barefoot and minimalist shoe idea and how long you typically go between replacing shoes. I'm definitely not a doctor or scientist, so don't take anything I've said as personal medical or fitness advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts and ideas that I've heard from others, and some of this has worked for me as well. I'll leave a link to Christopher McDougall's website if you want to learn more about the book Born to Run, and I highly recommend you read it as well. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe, like I said, if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on future videos, especially my Cleveland Marathon prep series, which I'm pretty excited about. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next one.